We're going to dive a little further into my collection and talk specifically about Vinyl Me Please releases, and not just any of them, but the rarest ones I own. Some of the records they put out are really expensive in the aftermarket because they go out of print and are hyper desirable. These ones are 5 of my favorites. Now before we dive into this video, I just want to let you know this is not an ad. I am not sponsored by Vinyl Me Please. I just have a lot of their releases and these are super rare. First one I have is MF Doom's Born Like This. This was his, I think, last studio album as MF Doom, and it was out of print for a little while, back in print for a little while, but VMP did a really nice version. There's this awesome spot foil on the back, not just the name of the Vinyl Me Please exclusive pressing, but as part of the actual art. It's hand numbered, mine's 251, and it comes on a limited variant. Also spot gloss on these inner sleeves, which is really cool. Comes on a gold variant, which matches the gold mask on the front. You know, some people say that this isn't one of Doom's best albums. I strongly disagree. I think his rhymes are super creative on this record, and the beats are excellent to match. I hold this up in regard with most of his other work, period. Now this gold variant, after it's sold out in the shop, tends to go for quite a bit in the aftermarket. It's still definitely purchasable before it really escalates, but you're looking at about $45 to $70, with copies currently available around the $85 mark. I wouldn't hesitate if you want to either variant collect for this record, because I know that recently Lex put out a clear version as well, or if you want this version in particular, because arguably it matches the best. Speaking of Doom, let's talk about his longtime collaborator Madeleine with Flight to Brazil. So as you guys know, I love hip-hop, I love Madlib, I love Brazilian music. This was an absolute no-brainer to pick up. This is Madlib. After traveling back and forth to Brazil, he is famous for going and raiding them of all of their rare Brazilian pressings and hoarding them, which kind of sucks for people like me that wants to own them. But he took this and made it as part of his incredible Madlib Medicine Show series, where he took a bunch of Brazilian sounds and albums and he mashed them up and fused them with his own production. And it's this amazing jaunt through all the sounds of Brazilian music, be it bossa nova, psychedelic, samba, MPB. All this stuff is fused together in this awesome mix of music, and it's a great sampler for those who want to get into Brazilian music or want a little bit of that hip-hop flair to it. This is such a great record, and VMP pressed it to vinyl for the first time. It went out of print quite quickly, also hand numbered out of 1,000, so 772 out of 1,000, and it goes for a lot of money now if you want to own it. Roughly goes for 90 to 105 based on historical data on Discogs, but right now you can't buy a copy for less than 140. If you are a fan of hip-hop and Brazilian music though, you gotta find this and add it to your collection. I'm always stoked when one of my favorite bands has a super limited pressing, and Vinyl Me Please is responsible for a couple from The National. This is one of their EPs, Cherry Tree. This is an amazing EP. It has some of their best B-sides like Wasp Nest, All Dolled Up in Straps, About Today, and All the Wine, which is my favorite National song, or at least tied with Slow Show, depends on what day. This is a limited version of Cherry Tree, of which there are a few. Brassland, their label, put out a red version of this on 12-inch and a red 10-inch, which is even harder to find, which I do have, because I'm awesome. This is the VMP version though. It's on this really nice red with kind of black marbling on it. Arguably the best looking version of this record, and it sounds terrific to boot. National fans love their vinyl though, and this one is out of print and goes for quite a bit of coin. This was limited to 1,000, and there are none currently available on Discogs as of me recording this video. In the past, they sold from $70 to $120. So for an EP, just 7 songs, this is definitely a pricey buy, but it is worth it. When this record burst on the scene and I first heard it, I was floored. This is No Name's Telephone. No Name, you know, she got mad on Twitter because people kept comparing her to Chance the Rapper and saying it's the female Chance the Rapper, which is pretty offensive, and I don't agree with saying that. But it's hard to argue that they don't both bring these positive, laid-back vibes to their music in this chill, jazzy style. I love them both. I would not say that either of them is similar to the other necessarily, but I would recommend them both to people that want that kind of music. No Name's Telephone is her first release. She released another album last year that was excellent, but this is still my favorite. It is just really honest lyricism, amazing flow. She is an incredible MC, and this record is super highly regarded as one of the best hip-hop albums in a long time. VMP had the pleasure of putting it on vinyl, came with their classic VMP Obi strip, and a really fun stencil, if you want to stencil No Name somewhere. Those are the only differences from the version that she ended up selling on her web store though. Because of those extras, this version is highly regarded as the rarest version of this record to exist though. Limited to 1,500 total, it tends to go for $85 to $175, and currently only available starting at $140. This record is awesome. I would say if you can find it without the stencil and the obi for less than 100, you should definitely grab it. But this is just something that everyone should own. It's a great pressing and an even better album. And finally, a recent VMP grail knocked off my list. This is the incredible record by Justin Timberlake, Future Sex Love Sounds, one of the best modern pop records of all time. Unequivocally, I would argue that with anybody. I mean, this brought some huge singles like My Love, Sexy Back, What Goes Around, but this whole record, except for the last track, which is not necessarily my favorite track, it's kind of a strange song about a meth addict, it feels very out of place. But regardless, this whole record up till that is really interesting sonically and sounds great too with this remaster they did a couple years ago. All the versions have this really cool gatefold where he's smashing the disco ball, but only one version comes on this amazing gray marble, and it's the only colored version of this album that exists. Vinyl Me Please was lucky enough to have it, and I remember trying to get it in the store when it came out, and it was sold out by the time I heard about it. So it sold out extremely fast. I'm usually very on top of this kind of stuff. And it became really difficult to find. It tends to go for about $77 to $180 depending on when you can find it pop up on Discogs. The cheapest currently is $200. I found it for less than the low end of this range, thankfully. Definitely paid a pretty penny for it, but it is worth it. It sounds great. This is a super important record for pop history and will be remembered, absolutely. I mean, Timbaland production and Justin Timberlake singing, it really can't get better than that. So if you're a collector and you want the most limited version, you're gonna have to shell out some money. Alright guys, those are the 5 records from Vinyl Me Please that I own that are worth the most and are the rarest, and all of them are super special to me. What are your most desirable and rare Vinyl Me Please records that you were able to score since your time with them? Leave a comment, let me know, I'm very curious. What should I add to my list that I don't own? And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Be subscribed to this channel with the notifications turned on so you don't miss any awesome videos I put out. More videos soon. Take it easy, guys.